Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to go back on your initial comments on the report, the draft report versus the final report, and some of the changes that were made in that report, and get some clarification as to timelines. It was reported that a line was inserted, and if you're the VA, this is the line you'd want inserted in that report. That line says, while the case reviews in this report document poor quality of care, we are unable to conclusively assert that the absence of timely quality care caused the deaths of these veterans. And obviously that was pertaining to the Phoenix Hospital. Just some timelines. Was this line included in the draft report?
There are many versions of a draft report. The majority of the changes in our draft report came about as a result of further deliberations by the senior staff of the Inspector General's office. No one in VA dictated that sentence go in that report, period.
So was the line included in the draft report that was sent to the VA?
It was not included in the first version of that draft report. What I would like to do, if I may, is provide a timeline in writing to the committee.
I'd like that.
That can, make it very clear what is going on with that allegation.
Okay. I guess the question that needs to be asked, did the VA play any part in the inclusion of this line?
No.
In your report, you obtained a list of 171 patients who were waiting to seek services. Most of them were mental health therapies. You also denoted and noted in your report that between January of 2012 and 2014, that you identified 77 suicides. These patients did not have their appointments scheduled or were yet to be scheduled. What I'm trying to get to is, would a reasonable person come to the conclusion that wait time manipulation, would that contribute to patient deaths? Would a reasonable person come to that conclusion that the manipulation of these wait times contribute to an individual's death?
I'm going to ask Dr. Day to describe the clinical process review. But I would say, in general, we're not in the business of making odds on whether something did or didn't cause a death, whether it's likely, unlikely, 50%, 30%, 80%. That's not our purpose. Dr. Day will describe how we conducted those reviews.
We looked at the fact pattern of each of the cases that we described for you. And so one of the issues you have to understand is that because you were on a wait list for audiology and you happened to die of a cardiac problem, the wait list factor was not very important. If you were under the care of a urologist intensively, but you were on a wait list to see primary care, then we may have concluded that yes, you were on a wait list, yes, you died, but we don't see a relationship there. So for each of these cases we've reported, we wanted the fact pattern to demonstrate that a delay in care we thought would have led or dramatically impacted the likelihood that that patient would die, and we didn't see that. We saw harm. We saw 28 cases described where delay negatively impacted care, but I couldn't say delay caused the patient to die.
So with the 171 patients that were delayed in mental health therapy, and yet you identified 77 suicides, you see no link between delayed care and these
I didn't say no link. I said that if you're trying to say that
see, I'm in the business of trying to find conclusions and of figuring out what reasonable people would believe. We had a female veteran, blind veteran, with diabetic problems in Nevada, had to wait 6 hours to get care. 2 weeks later, she died. And I have to believe that there is a link between the kind of care she was getting at that hospital and her death 2 weeks later. And I think any reasonable person would come to that conclusion.
So we looked again at the fact pattern for each of these cases. We had 2 physicians on my staff agree on the cases and the fact pattern and the conclusion we came to on each of these cases. When we began this review, I thought we would find patients with delayed care leading to death. I agree, that's a likely outcome. I just didn't see it. And all I can do is report the news that I find, and this is what we find.
See, I don't want to give the VA a pass on this, and I believe that that's what this line does. It exonerates the VA of any responsibility in past manipulation of these waiting times.
I just have to disagree. I described 45 cases, 28 of which were negatively impacted because of delays. The only argument is I can't say that those that died because of the delay.
Right.
And in addition, I found that there was care that didn't meet the standards of care that we would expect of the VA for an additional 17 cases. So I think I've laid those fact patterns out in the report. So I have a conclusion, and the reader can come to their own conclusion.
Dr. Day, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Griffin.
Thank you, Senator